This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com, and I am going to do my weekly Wrestling Observer newsletter review. And I have to say, this is one of the saddest weeks in the history of wrestling with all these cancellations. It's terrible for the world in general, too, but I was so excited for the PCW Ultra event on March 27th, and now it's canceled. And WrestleMania might very likely be canceled, and I got a table at WrestleCon, flying people in for WrestleCon. I had other stuff that cost me money these past few weeks that's just going to be money down the drain, so it really sucks. I'm actually sad about it, but I did have a decent workout tonight despite that. The AEW versus NXT ratings were really low, possibly because of the virus. I believe they were the lowest ratings of 2020. AEW won, as I predicted, not that it was a Nostradamus prediction, but AEW won 0.26 to 0.21. So I believe AEW did a 0.35 last week, so that's a big drop from AEW last week. And it's funny because Jake the Snake was on last week's episode to say he was bringing someone special this week, so you would have thought that would have boosted the ratings. And I think the guy he brought was Lance Hoyt from New Japan. He's also been in TNA. He was Davey Boy Smith Jr.'s partner in New Japan, which, by the way, they've made it official. Davey Boy Smith is going in the WWE Hall of Fame. Long overdue. And Davey Boy Smith Jr., the champion of the Hannibal TV, numerous time WWE Tag Team Champion, will actually be inducting his father. I did actually speak to Davey Boy Smith Jr. today because, of course, unfortunately, the August 8th Great North Wrestling event has to be canceled for now. We might do that event down the road in a different location, but unfortunately, because it's in a city building and all this stuff is going on and it appears we haven't seen the worst of it yet, I had no choice but to cancel it to get my deposit back before it's too late. And as I said, I've already lost money due to this. I'm not going to put any more time and money into a show that might be canceled later. So I had to talk to him about that, and he was telling me that he really hopes this All Japan Carnival isn't canceled because he's supposed to be a big part of that, his All Japan Pro Wrestling debut. The Tampa mayor said yesterday that they're going to, I guess, give WWE a little bit more time because there's still several weeks before WrestleMania. If WWE doesn't cancel the show on their own, council, I guess, will reconvene to address that. Football fan Dan, will Lex Luger ever make the WWE Hall of Fame? I believe he will. Ultimate Warrior says stay strong. Well, don't worry. I'm very strong. Very strong. I'm actually outgrowing the dumbbells at my gym, and they go up to 150, so definitely need more than that. WrestleCon says they need more time to figure out whether they're going to go on or not. If it is on, Billy Jack Haynes and Mike McGurk will be there representing the Hannibal TV. If not, I will make other arrangements, but even if WrestleMania is canceled, I'm still going to arrange some interviews in Tampa. WWE has moved Friday's tonight's SmackDown from Detroit, where they were going to be at the Little Caesars Arena, to the Performance Center in Tampa, where apparently there probably isn't even going to be any fans. So John Cena was supposed to be on that show. I can only assume he still will be. It's just gonna, the reaction's gonna be bad with no fans. I think Steve Austin is supposed to be on Raw on Monday too. So with no fans to react to him coming out, it kind of takes something away, but they haven't canceled Raw yet. They did cancel both house shows this weekend. One of them was in Toronto. The reason why PCW Ultra had to cancel their event, which they've tentatively rescheduled for June 12th, is because California has limited all public gatherings to 250 people maximum until the end of March. Ring of Honor also canceled their March events. AEW in the Salt Lake City area had 3,000 people buy tickets, I guess, to the event, but about 500 of those 3,000 didn't show up, probably because of the coronavirus. Sorry. The NBA, NHL, and MLS have suspended all play from this point forward rather than doing empty arena games. Major League Baseball was expected to cancel spring training and delay the start of the regular season, in more bad news. Dave Meltzer points out in The Observer that this is all about that CMLL, the Mexico company that drew almost as many fan gates, over 10,000 fans last year as WWE, if not the same amount. Dave believes they might feel it the most because they get a lot of tourist walk-up fans to their Mexico City events, and there's going to be a lot less tourists in Mexico due to this virus. And I guess a lot of those wrestlers are paid off the house. So if you're paid off the house and there's less people, that's a lot more bread coming in. The UFC show this weekend in Brazil is going to be taking place in an empty arena, and the public weigh-ins have been canceled. No official return for New Japan Pro Wrestling yet. They canceled the rest of the New Japan Cup. NWA or NCAA's upcoming championships would be held, but in arenas with only essential staff and limited families in attendance. That's what they said before, but then they ended up canceling the basketball tournament completely. There is a wrestling tournament that's scheduled to be held in an empty stadium still, apparently, from what I understand. And in other business news related to WWE, some salaries were released. I guess Vince McMahon's salary went down in 2019 from 2018 by, I guess, a couple $1 million. George Barrios, the co-president that was recently released, went from a salary of over $9 million to a salary of under $2 million. Michelle Wilson, the other released executive, went from a salary of over $9 million, to a salary of under $2 million as well. Triple H, who I guess is the EVP of Global Talent Development now, his salary also went down from $5 million plus to $3 million plus. His wife, Stephanie, the chief brand officer, earned over $2 million. So they're not hurting for money. Apparently, according to Meltzer's opinion, Triple H has received a demotion. Some people are calling it a demotion. I guess he has had a change of position. I'll read to you exactly what it is from the Wrestling Observer to credit it. I guess Dave Meltzer says the company never made it clear, but in a recent SEC filing, when giving Levesque's new title, it essentially opened the door for questions. He was the head of talent relations, his main job, but also oversaw many other departments. So now he's no longer in charge of talent relations. His main duties are now NXT, selling NXT TV rights and expanding NXT globally. Brad Blum, Vince McMahon's chief of staff is apparently in charge of executive vice president of operations, and he's in charge of the talent duties that Triple H had. So Meltzer says there are those internally that called it a demotion. I don't know. Who knows? But Triple H never liked me, never hired me, so I don't really care if he's no longer head of talent relations. That would be a good thing for me. Although I will point out one thing, it'd be less than 1% chance Triple H is watching this. I was probably one of the very few Jean-Paul Levesque and Hunter Hearst Helmsley fans. I remember for some reason, I guess because I also liked Steven Regal, but like I was a huge fan of the Blue Bloods in WCW. So when Triple H went to WWE, I was probably one of his biggest fans, if not his biggest. I actually liked him more as Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I'm probably the only one. Just like I like stunning Steve Austin better than Stone Cold Steve Austin. I didn't dislike Stone Cold, but I liked the WCW version better. In some gate news, WWE's SmackDown March 6th in Buffalo had an excellent crowd of 10,000. NXT UK on the 6th had 700 fans. NXT in Florida had 250 fans on the 6th in Melbourne, Florida. March 7th in Allentown, WWE had a good crowd. I accidentally deleted it, but I remember reading it, and it was a good crowd. Under, like, for a house show, I think it was like around 5,000. I'll clarify this on my next news, but they didn't have a bad crowd. And then the next night, WWE NXT did another NXT taping, 600 fans, 100 fans less the second night. So obviously, what does that tell you, NXT UK wrestlers? You're not that good. You couldn't bring as many people back the second night. You actually had less people the second night. So, March 7th, NXT in Orlando drew 300 fans. WWE Raw tapings this week in Washington had 8,700 fans. AEW in Salt Lake City, Utah, which I already discussed this a little bit, 2,800 fans paid. And Orlando, the NXT this week, since it was at the Performance Center, they only had 250 fans. Someone saying Brian Cage to AEW. Well, we already reported that a long time ago, but he has an injury right now. So Troy Course says, because Canada isn't tough. I don't know what you mean. Are you referring to the Prime Minister here's wife has the coronavirus? Which, by the way, I didn't think it was that big of a deal in Canada until now. That's probably going to blow it up a little more here. Scott Steiner, as I've already reported lots on this, collapsed backstage and had to be rushed to the hospital in a life or death situation, according to the Wrestling Observer here. It says he had to be revived and underwent heart surgery. So that's pretty serious. You know what? Scott Steiner had to be revived and underwent heart surgery, yet the Impact Wrestling executive tweeted out that Scott is okay. So I guess considering that, he's okay. But I don't consider that okay. He almost died. Rob Van Dam suffered a broken rib in Qatar and is out right now, I guess. WWE is still in talks with people regarding their future pay-per-views. WrestleMania is still going to be on the network. Rezar, sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, from WWE, suffered a torn right bicep. Combate America has canceled their shows March 9th, March 13th, and March 20th in Tucson, Mexico City, and San Antonio. So cancellations everywhere. Rob Gronkowski. Sorry, as I've said this before, I'm not a big football fan. I did report earlier today, though, that the XFL is done for the season due to this virus. I guess it might be a good thing for the XFL because the attendance wasn't bad, but ratings was going down every week. It hadn't stabilized. So throw in the towel now, regroup. At least there'll be some up in the air questions on how the league would have finished than if it had finished bad. So they made a good call shutting it down. But this Rob Gronkowski, former New England Patriot, who's considered, according to Meltzer, one of the greatest NFL players in history, is apparently signed to WWE. Again, they keep bringing in non-wrestlers. To me, it's getting stale. I really like the boxer that they brought in, even though Tyson Fury. I like him as a boxer and respect him as a boxer, but I did not like that match. But he's donated a lot of money to charity, and I'm a fan of his as a boxer. So I'm just saying I'm not a fan of people with not much training doing wrestling. Oh, Elimination Chamber, by the way, in Philadelphia drew 13,000 fans last weekend. So most of the reports I heard said it was a lackluster pay-per-view with not a lot of star power, but obviously it had a good crowd. Now, speaking of celebrities, okay, wanted to wrestle, here's another one that I would not be that excited about wrestling. Chuck Liddell, who is another guy I respect and admire as an MMA fighter. He's 50, and he says that he's interested in wrestling for the WWE. So there you go. Dr. Luther, who apparently calls himself the Death Dealer, which is a name that Billy Graham gave to me as a wrestler, has officially signed with AEW. And by the way, I'm glad he signed with AEW at 51. I have not actually seen anything other than the promo where he called himself the Death Dealer in AEW because a fan sent it to me that was offended. Numerous fans were. But this guy is a good wrestler, and he definitely has paid his dues. So I'm actually happy that they signed him. UFC 248 at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas drew 15,077 fans for a gate of 2,742,906. MLW wrestler Tom Lawler, who I hold a wrestling victory over, search it up here on the Hannibal TV, has signed with the PFL MMA company. Speaking of MMA, by the way, cancellations, for the small amount of you from Quebec that watch this, the Montreal Fight League this weekend that I was going to go to was also canceled. So it sucks all around. Richard M says Chuck Liddell to Great North Wrestling. Maybe that's a guy I would have a kickboxing match with. That would be interesting. Troy Course says, do I like Jack Perry? Well, I don't really know anything about him other than I was a Beverly Hills 90210 fan, and I was a fan of his father. So can't say I don't like him. Hardly seen him as my dog comes up here to say hello. Please don't stop doing videos because of one dumb guy that thinks he's funny. There's a guy on here like trolling this. So for this reason, it's making it hard for me to see the questions. People are mad at him. Will Billy Jack be at Mania? Well, Billy Jack is in Florida right now, so he's supposed to be. All we can do is pray that they don't cancel it, but things are not looking good. Things are really not looking good for WrestleMania. As for blocking that guy, yes, I will. Okay. Enzo says, I'm surprised Lance Archer went to AEW and was revealed as Jake's client. Well, Lance Archer, first of all, there's not even any shows going on in Japan right now, so I guess he made a good deal from that standpoint, Lance Archer did. But also, AEW is like the best place to work if you're a wrestler, unless you're, of course, like a John Cena or Randy Orton or a Brock Lesnar, because you only wrestle like once a week or so, and you make similar money to WWE. And from what I understand, the atmosphere is so far, who knows, it's still a young company, but the atmosphere is very good backstage. So I'm not surprised at all. I do think that Davey Boy Smith Jr. will go to WWE, though. I do believe that, just from his appearances on WWE's media lately, and also his family history with WWE. And he is, honestly, they should take him and give him a big push, in my opinion. Big Richard, thoughts on XFL canceling their season but still paying the players and giving them benefits? Well, that's great for the players. That's my thoughts on that. So yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. I am on Twitter at Devon Hannibal. We're also at the Hannibal TV on Twitter and Instagram too. I don't run the Instagram though. YouTube.com/the Hannibal TV. We have over 100 million video views now. So make sure you subscribe.